The Delaware Correctional System is facing some major challenges. I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Local Edition. With me this hour is Tom Kovach. He is Delaware State Representative representing the 6th District. Thanks so much for being with us.
Pleasure to be here, Jill.
When we talk about some of these issues, there have been continued reports coming out about the Delaware Correctional System and some of the problems within the system, including neglect when it comes to basic human rights, or basic human needs rather, and also medical conditions. Talk to us about some of the things that are coming out and what you're starting to hear.
Sure. To give a brief history to help us explain where we are today. In 2005, there was a big blow-up article in the News Journal, series of articles revealing reports of mistreatment in the prison system, in the Department of Corrections. There was a federal involvement. There was a memorandum of understanding reached in 2006 between the state and the federal government about what steps Delaware should take. There's an independent report that goes on and details these steps and improvements. So there's been vast improvement since 2006, but not significant, not sufficient improvements to address all the problems. And it came to my attention when I was reading these disturbing reports from the Caesar Rodney Institute, which investigative journalist Lee Williams had undergone these reports and investigations of maltreatment in prisons, both denying basic medical coverage that the state is paying for and potentials for abuse within the system.
So this money was already being put out by the state in terms of funding for medical treatment, but the prisoners were not getting this treatment?
And that's a real problem. We have severe fiscal problems in this state. We're spending $40 million to provide medical care for our inmates. There's 6,900 inmates. That's over $5,600 per inmate for medical care that they aren't receiving. They're receiving substandard medical care, and we're spending all this money. It's absolutely ridiculous.
So what can actually be done in order to provide the care needed for the inmates, but to do it in a way that's fiscally responsible? Because these are individuals within the prison system in Delaware. The care is the responsibility of the state of Delaware, but you want to do it in a way where it's not going to cost more money than necessary.
Well, that's right, and we can't be wasting this money on inefficient care. We have right now a system where you have one medical provider providing the breadth of services for these inmates, going from treatment all the way to prescriptions. There's actually an internal conflict of interest. If you're a provider that's providing the broad range of services, if you fulfill less prescriptions, you keep more money. It's an inherent interest. Now the state, after these investigations broke and after folks got together and legislators got together and submitted letters to our correctional facility, actually announced on the morning of a press conference that they were going to break up the prison contract into 3 distinct groups. Now that's a good first start, but that doesn't get us all the way where we need to go.
Is it also a matter of changing the way in which the court systems work so that, for example, if someone has a more minor drug offense, that maybe he or she could go into a treatment program rather than into a prison system?
Well, that's a very important issue. Is if we're treating the symptoms, we're not treating the problems. We'll give these people places to stay, and give them substandard medical care, not treat them well, and then let them out to society after this not pleasant time for a relatively minor offense. We need to really focus in on what we're sending people to prison for, not go after the easier conviction offenses, but the more serious offenses, which is going to take a reconfiguration of our system.
In addition to these basic human needs, we just have a short time left, but how much of a fiscal issue is this for Delaware? Obviously, there's the accountability on the medical side, but the entire prison system, what could it mean to potentially implement some of those kinds of ideas?
To implement those ideas and possibly really take a dramatic look about who we're putting in prison and why, and instead of setting up alternative programs that will put people back on the street in a position to get jobs. I mean, that's a focus that we should have, is not locking people up, but what are they going to do when they get out?
Right.
And we could save the state money in doing that.
Thank you so much. We've been talking with Delaware State Representative Tom Kovach. I'm Jill Horner for Comcast Local Edition.